Hi, this is Stacia, and today we're going to look at my round one game of the Tuesday Tussle 4, the fourth rendition of the Tuesday Tussle. I played the white pieces against Jeff Davis, and I forgot to update my rating, which is 1683 actually. And Jeff Davis was 1758, and that's USCF. Okay, so let's have a look at this. I played the move e4, and he played c5. And I played d4. So this is the Smith-Morra Gambit. And he took once, and I played c3. So now I'm truly offering a pawn here, allowing him to capture on c3, and he did do so. So I took back with my knight. So now I've got a tempo of development for the pawn, and I have this nice pawn in the center as well. Let's see what happens. He played knight c6. That's the move I normally see. I played knight f3, and he played d6. So, okay, this is totally normal so far. I went bishop c4, which is also normal, and he went e6. So this is the typical pawn structure that I see the most, the Checkmating pawn structure. Probably not saying that correctly. But when black puts their pawns in the center like this, the go-to plan for white is to play queen e2 and rook d1. Of course, that's kind of hard to do with my king in the way, so I castled. Okay, so now knight f6. And here, I think it's important to analyze the move e5, which I did during the game. So e5, you have to ask yourself in a position like this, is the timing right or is this too early? Here, I think it's too early, and I think we'll check with the computer to make sure I'm right. But I think e5, and he could simply take the pawn. Yeah, computer agrees. Now, I could take queens, could trade queens here, and if black were to take with the knight, I think that's a mistake because it undefends the e-pawn, and I could take this way. But black can actually take with the king, and this is probably okay because the king, can he hide there? I'm not sure. Well, if black gets this in, I suppose his king's pretty safe. But the most annoying thing about the king here is that even if I bring my rook to the center, yeah, computer's giving king e7 is fine and bishop d7. Yeah, I think both are fine as well. And I've had a couple games like this, so I'm very cautious about playing this way because black got to keep that extra pawn. So if I'm not mistaken, black is currently 2 pawns up, and we definitely don't have full compensation for 2 pawns. So I think that means that e5 is what Michael Jolson would call desperate, like trying to make a little too much happen when it isn't really there. So, okay, instead queen e2, so I'm glad I played that move. Bishop to e7, and now rook d1. Okay, so our plan is complete. And now if black were to castle, I think I would play e5, but he did not do that. He played the move e5. I think this is the best move, and now I'll check with the computer to make sure that it's true. Yeah, so e5 is best. It also likes bishop d7, which, I've seen bishop d7 before. I'm not familiar with it. The point of bishop d7 is that it inserts the bishop between the rook and the queen, meaning that e5 has less of an oomph to it. So like if bishop d7, I don't think e5 really works anymore. Yeah, it doesn't. He just takes. So, So against bishop d7, computer says you can play knight b5, and that's useful to know. So we're attacking here, and now queen b8 can be played to defend the pawn. Also knight to e5, it says. So attacking the bishop. And computer likes e5. Okay, so that's something interesting that I didn't really know. Okay, so after rook d1 though, yeah, if he castles here, I think e5 is actually a good move now for white, and it is. So e5, and I think the only move is knight to e8. That is correct. If you saw my game that I played in the Women's World Open, I had a game in this line. Not sure if it was this exact position, but very similar. And here you take... I thought they take with the knight, but they can take with the bishop here. And white's better, but this is actually still fine. But still, I like these positions because white has a lot of pressure given the pin. All right, so instead of that in the game, e5 was played. And now we've reached sort of a mainline-ish type position. Mainline-ish. Yeah, this is the mainline effect. And yeah, I remember that the main move is bishop e3 here, and I thought for probably 5 minutes and finally played it. It was a 45-minute, 15 increment time control, so I had some time I could use. The problem with playing bishop e3 is that maybe white can play bishop g4, so you're allowing this move. Here I was planning h3, and I thought after this I wasn't really sure what to do. Yeah, computer says g4. Oh, I have seen this before, but I did not recall it during the game. Yeah, g4 looks a little bit ambitious, doesn't it? Like, you have to be worried about this first of all. Yeah, computer says white's better, but not even by a lot, so this is sort of legitimate. And the second thing is, yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, computer says it's just a game of chess, but do I really like it when my pawns are like this? I don't know. Not sure. I mean, I kind of feel like this pawn's weak and there's pressure on it. So this is something that I'll need to study more before I play this way. But yeah, so I did go bishop e3, and I was expecting bishop g4, but instead he castled, which is probably fine. You can castle as well. I just thought bishop g4 was a little more testing. Okay, and I played h3. So, okay, I'm like, well, I don't know what to do against bishop g4, so maybe this is more positional now. Black's up a pawn, but the pawn they're up is this pawn, and it's backwards and pinned. So white has some compensation for the pawn for sure. Okay, and I was kind of hoping he would play bishop e6, because I was planning the move bishop b5. Setting up a little bit of a threat. My threat is bishop takes knight, pawn takes, and knight takes e5, using the pin down the d file. I thought it was pretty obvious, so I was expecting him to move his queen. Yeah, computer gives queen a5. None of these moves are that great for black, though. Which is kind of why I played it. Like queen a5, I was going to play a6, or a3, I mean. The computer likes knight d5 here. Knight d5 is interesting. Queen still guards the bishop. I would be very hesitant to play something like this, though. Like, what if they just start taking things? Like, here. Oh, that's a fork. So that's why. Okay, then. I totally missed that. Okay, but bishop, there's not a fork that way. Yeah, it says this is equal. It wants to play knight to b8. Wow. Okay, well, if black has to play knight to b8, then I like this better for me. Maybe black has time for this though. Okay, so we're learning some things here. And it turns out that this bishop b5 move was actually not best. Computer likes rook a to c1, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, I think allowing this I thought was bad, but turns out that this is okay. I just played queen d3. Hang on 1 second for me. Okay, so here, I guess this position is equal because we're going to likely win that d pawn at some point. Okay, so good to know. So h3 bishop here. I kind of like my move though, just because it has that slight sneaky threat, and I thought moving the queen isn't all that comfortable. Yeah, so when he played a6, I was like, okay, you know, he didn't see it, so I grabbed a pawn. Now, I don't think he should take the knight. This looks good for white, and in fact it is. Yeah, rook f takes. So I've won a queen for a queen and a pawn, so that's 10 points of material for a knight and a rook, which is 8 points of material. So that's just good for white. So instead of that, yeah, he played queen c7. And I think here I should just move my knight. It was kind of hard to decide where to put it. I was even considering this move, knight to g4. Yeah, it turns out this is an option. Thought it might be. Because like if he does something like this, I don't think I'm that unhappy about this. Like I'm going to play f3 and I have a dark square bishop guarding my dark squares, so I kind of like that pawn structure. And it trades pieces, but I just went knight to f3. And yeah, let's take a second here to look at the position. I thought this is a very interesting position. I wasn't sure that I was better here. Yeah, it turns out I have a slight edge only because black has the two bishops and I have the better pawn structure. I have a 2 versus 1 on the queen side, sort of. This is still here too. But I have 2 pawn islands and black has this isolated pawn, these hanging pawns, and then there are 3 over here. So yeah, I thought it was roughly equalish. But computer gives a very slight edge to white, plus 0.2. Okay. So now this is where I didn't know what to do as much. So I'm very interested in this part of the game. Let's see what we can learn. He went rook to e8, which lines the rook up with the queen. That made me kind of nervous and made me feel like I should probably move my queen. But I brought my rook into the game first. He moved his queen. And now what should I do? I had a few different moves in mind. I was looking at this move, which I don't think is correct. I was looking at this move, and I was looking at this move. So computer does like knight d4. It likes queen c2, also a move I thought about. Oh, I guess I settled on that. Totally forgot. Yeah, I was seeing that, you know, if I go e5 here, pieces can disappear from the e file very quickly, and then suddenly there's a rook lined up with my queen. So I wasn't liking this so much, you know, like if takes and knight takes, maybe queen c7, I guess, you know, here. But as you can see, like things are starting to open up. I'm not sure about this, so I didn't play that move. I played queen c2 and he retreated his bishop. I'm not sure about this move either, but it seems okay. It does open up the rook. It might be a move that I would consider. All right, and here I went bishop to f4. Yeah, another moment where I probably took about 5 minutes or more because it's not so easy to figure out how to proceed as white. The hanging pawns are kind of annoying because they're semi-mobile, but I did determine that this pawn isn't really mobile. I mean, it can push, I guess, but not without creating an isolated pawn, which would be a slight improvement for me, I felt. And I thought maybe my plan in this stage of the game would be to force advancement of the pawns, or especially attack this one here, since it's harder for that one to move. But if this one moves, then this one's weak forever, so yeah, I think it is hard to play black here. But I went bishop f4, this does attack the pawn, and he advanced it. So that was what I was hoping for. So now I take, and he takes. So now the pawn structure has transformed a little bit. I lost my center control, but black has gone from hanging pawns to an isolated pawn, and I have a lot of active pieces. And I just felt with all these active pieces, it's going to be really hard for this pawn to ever queen. I didn't think that was likely. Not only that, whenever there's an isolated pawn, you want to put a knight on the square in front of it, and I was able to do that immediately with knight to d4. So okay, so I like my position here, but still I thought it was roughly equal, and the computer agrees. Okay, so he went rook a to c8. This again lines up a rook with my queen. Yeah, one of the hardest things about this game is that it was difficult to know where my queen belongs. But here I determined that since it's hard to know where it belongs, I should trade it. Queen to b3. If black takes my queen, I think I can just take back with a knight. And I thought this would be just fine. I can come back. That will be okay. And if knight e5, which I thought was possible, maybe that drops the tactically it probably doesn't drop the pawn. No, it says it does. Oh, because I could take with a knight here. Do I have to take with a knight? Yeah, I do. Like if I go here, then that's pretty unfortunate. I just lost my knight. But I don't have to take that way. I can take this way. And now I can still recapture. So, okay. Yeah, so I actually think this is fine, and that's what I determined during the game as well. So queen b3, and I mean, the more we trade pieces, especially queens, then the weaker this pawn gets. And then it'll just be a matter of trading off the dark square bishops, and or take a bishop. If I can take away the 2 bishop advantage, then I think white's just better. So, okay. He went queen to a7. And yeah, this move I didn't like during the game. Turns out the computer kind of likes it. But I don't like it that much because I do like that the bishop is controlling the b8 square. I really do, but I didn't know what else to do. Computer does give bishop g5. Wow. Oops. Yeah, bishop h5. I guess tempting the knight to come into the e5 square. I don't know what this move does. Let's just see. I mean, I was thinking this would happen during the game, but it says I can simply take, and after takes, knight takes here, really. Oh, they cannot take with the rook because that would drop this rook. So it causes the pawn structure to fracture even more. Wait a minute. Now the computer is giving. Oh, we're going to do it anyway, then take that pawn. Yeah, if here, check. Wow. Okay, I missed all this. So I guess knight e5 isn't possible because after takes, we have all this kind of stuff, but yeah, so instead black has to trade right away. But then we can take here, intermezzo. No, we can't. He'll go here. Okay, sorry. There's a lot of tactics here. Okay. Let's suffice to say that bishop g5 is a move. Okay, I wasn't considering that. And yeah, why navigate all that with bishop g5? I don't see a reason. The other move the computer likes is queen c2. It's not so natural to step into the line of fire. But maybe the idea is to, well, it wants to play queen back to b3 after this. Okay. I was thinking maybe queen d3. I did consider this maneuver during the game. With the queen behind the pawn, the queen's safe. So, okay. All right, but bishop here, and I'm just saying, yeah, I'm going to take your bishop. So you got to move your queen again. So he did move it. And maybe the queen isn't so happy here being blocked by the pawn. And now a3. Now, I briefly analyzed this game with Michael Jolson after the game, and he mentioned that he thought b3, like something with like queen a4 or even knight a4, and b3 was a better way to go. Computer does like knight a4. You know, I was considering this during the game as well, because I do have sort of a threat to jump in here and maybe even here at some point. So the knight could belong on a4 a little bit, but it looks awkward to me. So I went with the move a3. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that when you have a 2 versus 1 on the queen side, that you want to advance your pawns. So a3, b4 was my idea to get that started. And if I have my way, I'm going to put my queen on d3 and then hopefully trade pieces. That's what I was thinking. Don't know if that's the best, but I did kind of miss this move, rook to c4. Now, is this move good? I'm not sure. It felt like to me like it was a decent try because, he's going to double. And, well, here I decided on, I could play knight a4 here too. But I decided on knight to e2, knight c to e2. This move looked appealing. I know it's hard to imagine this game was a Smith-Morra Gambit. It's usually sort of a rock'em and sock'em type game. But this one is one where I won the pawn back and the game's just sort of equal. So I had to become old Stacia from before 2 years ago when I started playing crazy and play this one solid and positional. So it's nice that I can do both things. So I definitely recommend knowing how to play, no matter what the position. All right, so he went queen here. I wasn't crazy about this move for him. I thought rook over was better. Computer agrees. Yeah, it even likes rook b8, which I was kind of worried about. Wait, rook c8 must not be a thing. Computer doesn't give it. Here I thought, I thought about taking this. I figured he would take with a pawn. Yeah, this looks kind of annoying, doesn't it? Now I can go queen c2. I don't want to go here because knight e4 is annoying. Why allow that? So queen c2 instead, stopping. Well, it doesn't even stop it, but okay. And then it says bishop to d5. Bishop d5, really? Okay, bishop d5, this. Oh, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. And then never play f3, except here the computer likes it. You know, though, truthfully, when you have a dark square bishop, it's safer to play f3. You're guarding this diagonal, and the king will hide and be safe on h1, I think. So, okay. All right, but I didn't do that. I didn't do that because he didn't do that. All right, queen to c8 instead. And now I played the move knight to f4. Wow, it turns out this is the best move. Cool. Yeah, I felt like this is kind of annoying. Now my knights are in the center. I'm kind of threatening to take here twice maybe if the rook moves, so it kind of ties the rook down. And do I have a chance to wreck black's pawns? Maybe. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, like, if I have takes. Take with a pawn though. Oh, maybe take first. Like, let's say black does nothing. Like, I'm wondering if I can just wreck the black pawns with something like knight takes and f takes, followed by rook takes, queen takes here. And okay, rook c1, and you know, this isn't the best pawn structure I've ever seen. And so maybe I could play like this. I think it's for that reason that black made the next move that he made. After knight to f4, he traded rooks. Now this is not desirable. I don't think it's desirable at all, because it relinquishes control of the c file. Observe, rook takes. Now I take here. Notice the bishop's guarding the rook. The queen must move. So yeah, who has the c file now? It's white. So I went ahead and invaded, and he played rook b8. That attacks my queen. And here I saw queen c2 look good. You know, keeping an eye on this. And he played bishop to d6. Okay. I was very, 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 very close to playing knight d takes e6 here. And I thought it might be strong or it might not be. And turns out that knight f takes e6 is very strong. So let's see if we can figure out why. I thought after this move, if he takes the rook, I would take with the knight. That attacks the queen. Now, I thought he would have to move his queen. So where, though, is the question. Yeah, queen b7. And, b4 is winning. Wow. I would have a hard time playing this. Like, I'd be scared of this pin. But bishop f4 is winning. Wow. So this is the kind of thing that's hard for a player like me to see, that in this structure, which you'd have to see way ahead of time when you play knight takes e6, you'd have to see that there is no way for black to proceed from here. Like, he has this really nice pin, but he has no further attackers. Well, what about this though? If here it says queen a4. Oh man. Yeah, I would not be calculating all this. Not yet. So now if he takes, now what? Queen d7 is winning. Who's pinned now? Okay, this is crazy. Man, that's pretty cool. If the queen moves away, I take. it's going to be checkmate soon. But the knight's pinned and attacked. That's just like an immortal pin. There's no way to stop this? Rook e8, it says. Wow. Well, that just gives up the knight back. And computer says, who cares about a knight? Knight c6. Maximum confusion now. I don't even understand this, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's check at the least. Get the rook out of fire, but then yeah, I guess the knight's just attacked, right? Like, how does black get out of this? Okay, interesting. So I need to do more tactics puzzles apparently. Because this gets crazy. I didn't see that far. I was actually thinking that this way was better because after takes, queen b7, I thought I could actually, well, I liked the fact that the bishop was guarding this square, and I thought I could take here. It turns out I can't take there, though. Still, the queen on b7 defends it, so, yeah, more tactics needed. Still, I think these moves, knight takes bishop, are interesting because of the recapture on c7 after bishop d6. Instead, I played the normal move, rook to c6. Yeah, so that's kind of a mistake. Way more accurate to take, especially with the f knight. Okay, but his bishop's attacked. I mean, my position's good. So he took the knight. And again, I feel like this is a bit of a concession for black, giving up the two bishops, especially the dark square bishop. This bishop is not the best one I've ever seen. He feels like a large pawn. Okay, so I took back. This also attacks the rook. And now he went here, and he's trying to say that he's solid here. I mean, he sees that, you know, I want to take. So how to proceed? Well, let's put the rook on the 7th rank. And now he played rook c8. Yeah, and this is what's nice about getting better at chess. Like, as soon as he made this move, like, it just felt like something was weird about it. And it caused me to start looking around. And yeah, there is a winning move here. Now I can take the bishop. I'm defending the rook. So if he takes back, I can actually take with my knight. But if he doesn't take back, then I'm going to play rook takes c8 check. And that will win the queen. So he kind of has to take. And I call this a boomerang tactic. Now, the only thing about this, though, is we still have to analyze the pins. Like queen c8 pinning. But here I saw I have many moves. And yeah, the bishop on f4 guards the knight. If you attack it, well, I guess it's my turn anyway. But even if the knight comes to attack it, no problem. And well, I can pretty much just move the queen out of the pin. I played this move though, queen to c1. Just saying that, okay, everything's good, you know, Pythagorean theorem or whatever. And here he played knight to e4. But now I can just take the pawn because my queen's defended, so it's not really pinned. And here my opponent resigned. So there you go. Yeah, so I guess I'm sort of doing well in this Tuesday Tussle event. I went 4 out of 5 in the last rendition of this event, and now I started off this one with a win against a 1750 USCF. So pretty happy And my gambits are holding up thus far. Hope you enjoyed the game, and I'll see you next time. Bye.